Rachel
Good
Strauss is in
morning.
the waiting room.
Good morning. We are about to begin. Okay, let's start with the event. Good morning, Licenciado Pablo Barrera, member of the Board of Directors of IGA, Licenciada Ana Silvia Ramírez, CEO of IGA, Licenciada Odra Argueta, Principal of IGA School, authorities, parents, students, and audience. Welcome to the Diamond Challenge Guatemala 2021. It's an honor to be here with you, sharing and witnessing the creativity of all the teens who have put their ideas into action. Please remain with your cameras off during the event. Only participants and judges are allowed to turn cameras on when it's time for questions and answers. Por favor, solicitamos a la audiencia que mantenga sus cámaras apagadas durante todo el evento. Únicamente los participantes y jueces podrán encender sus cámaras durante la ronda de preguntas. To begin with the program, let's welcome Licenciada Ana Silvia Ramírez, CEO of IGA. Licenciada Ana Silvia, the microphone is yours.
Buenos días, profesores, alumnos e invitados especiales que nos acompañan esta mañana vía Zoom. Me da gusto darle la bienvenida en nombre de la Junta Directiva del Instituto Guatemalteco Americano IGA al evento final del Diamond Challenge en Guatemala. Hoy nos une el talento y trabajo en equipo de varios grupos de jóvenes emprendedores que atendieron la convocatoria hecha por IGA School para participar en la eliminatoria nacional de esta competencia de emprendimiento internacional. El año pasado, el Colegio IGA realizó una alianza con el Horn Entrepreneurship de la Universidad de Delaware en Estados Unidos para convocar a emprendedores escolares en Guatemala a participar en la competencia. Como saben, el Diamond Challenge impulsa a los estudiantes para que desarrollen su potencial emprendedor, dándoles retroalimentación, conexiones y recursos. Es la competencia empresarial mejor calificada del mundo para estudiantes de secundaria, pues los participantes compiten por $100,000 en efectivo y premios que pueden usarse para apoyar sus esfuerzos empresariales u obtener sus carreras profesionales. Que IGA School organice esta eliminatoria en el país responde a la misión de IGA como centro binacional al promover el intercambio cultural entre Guatemala y Estados Unidos y fomentar la educación y el desarrollo social en el país. De hecho, nuestros programas de emprendimiento en el colegio tienen ya más de 10 años, pues estamos seguros de la importancia que estas iniciativas tienen en la generación de habilidades de liderazgo y conciencia de responsabilidad social de nuestros alumnos. Quiero felicitar a todos los alumnos y alumnas que participan presentando sus ideas en forma de proyectos y planes de negocios. Pronto sabremos el equipo que representará a nuestro país en el Diamond Challenge, compitiendo con otros jóvenes emprendedores de todo el mundo. Desde ya, un fuerte aplauso para cada uno de ellos y muchas gracias por su participación. Buenos días.
The only way to be truly satisfied is to love what you do. Steve Jobs. Now, the principal of IGA School, Licenciada Odra Argueta, has some welcome words for us.
Good morning, Licenciado Pablo Barrera, member of the Board of Directors of IGA, Licenciada Ana Silvia Ramírez, CEO of IGA, IGA School team, parents, students, welcome to the Diamond Challenge Guatemala 2021. The Diamond Challenge is a global high school entrepreneurship competition that gives students from around the world the opportunity to put their entrepreneurial spirit at work and pursue their passion. This is the fourth time IGA hosts the Diamond Challenge, and during these years, we have seen how this competition empowers students to create projects that can help not only our country, but the world, reminding them that they can do or be anything if they put in enough effort and passion. I would like to quickly share with you some of the achievements we have had during these 3 years. I'm going to share with you some pictures right now. In 2018, our students won the first place and had the opportunity to travel to the University of Delaware to participate in the global competition representing Guatemala. In 2019, our students won the second place. In 2020, we proudly won the first place again, and our students had the opportunity to participate in the virtual global competition representing Guatemala. And this year, we are proud to be the organizers of the first virtual Diamond Challenge competition in Guatemala. Finally, I want to thank the following people: Licenciada Ana Silvia Ramirez for her encouragement and support during the organization of this event. To the organizing committee, Licenciada Evelyn Díaz, Licenciada Dagmara Páez, Licenciada Carmen María Juárez, and the school team for their dedication, commitment, and teamwork during the organization of this competition, for always strive for excellence. To Licenciada María Luisa Garnica, Education USA Senior Advisor, for sharing her experience in the organization of the Diamond Challenge. To the judges for giving their time to inspire future generation of entrepreneurs. To Rachel Strauss, Diamond Challenge Coordinator, for her guidance in the organization of this competition. To Emporia String Orchestra for being part of this event. Your participation is very much appreciated. And finally, to our Diamonds, our wonderful students, for being brave enough to accept this challenge, for the dedication and creativity shown during the process. I am proud to see how our Diamonds shine. You are our future. And as it is said in the Diamond Challenge, our future is bright. Thank you.
Thank you, Licenciada Argueta. We also want to welcome our special guest, Scott Duarte, Assistant Professor of English Language Institute, Delaware University, Rachel Strauss, Diamond Challenge Coordinator, and Maria Luisa Garnica, Education USA Senior Advisor. Let's welcome now Licenciado Pablo Barrera, member of the Board of Directors of IGA.
Hello, good morning to everyone. Thanks for taking the time today, and I hope that my presentation will give you some insights about what social entrepreneurship and what kind of problems we have in Guatemala, and why is it important to have social entrepreneurship here. So if I can share my screen, I think it's disabled. I don't know if Audra or someone can enable my Zoom to share my screen.
It's ready, Licenciado Barrera.
Ready? Thank you. I will show my full screen. Sure. So, okay. First, I want to start with video. I am a huge fan and TED organizer. So for me, TED Talks are very important and they deliver a great message. So I want to start with these, and after the video, we are going to begin with the presentation.
I've actually been waiting for...
Is the sound good?
By the phone
Yes, it
for a
does.
call from TED for years. And in fact,
What's going on?
in 2000, I was ready to talk about eBay, but no call. In 2003, I was ready to do a talk about the School Foundation and social entrepreneurship, no call. In 2004, I started Participant Productions, and we had a really good first year and no call. And finally, I get a call last year, and then I have to go up after J.J. Abrams. You've got a cruel sense of humor, Ted. When I first moved to Hollywood from Silicon Valley, I had some misgivings. But I found that there were some advantages to being in Hollywood. And in fact, some advantages to owning your own media company. And I also found that Hollywood and Silicon Valley had a lot more in common than I would have dreamed. Hollywood has its sex symbols, and the Valley has its sex symbols. Hollywood has its rivalries, and the Valley has its rivalries. Hollywood gathers around power tables, and the Valley gathers around power tables. So it turned out there was a lot more in common than I would have dreamed. But I'm actually here today to tell a story. And part of it is a personal story. When Chris invited me to speak, he said people think of you as a bit of an enigma, and they want to know what drives you a bit. And what really drives me is a vision of the future that I think we all share. It's a world of peace and prosperity and sustainability. And when we heard a lot of the presentations over the last couple of days, Ed Wilson and the pictures of James Nachtwey, I think we all realized how far we have to go to get to this new version of humanity that I like to call Humanity 2.0. And it's also something that resides in each of us to close what I think are the two big calamities in the world today. One is the gap in opportunity, this gap that President Clinton last night called uneven, unfair, and unsustainable. And out of that comes poverty and illiteracy and disease and all these evils that we see around us. But perhaps the other bigger gap is what we call the hope gap. And someone at some point came up with this very bad idea that an ordinary individual couldn't make a difference in the world. And I think that's just a horrible thing. And so chapter 1 really begins today with all of us, because within each of us is the power to equal those opportunity gaps and to close the hope gaps. And if the men and women of TED can't make a difference in the world, I don't know who can. And for me, a lot of this started when I was younger, and my family used to go camping in upstate New York, and there really wasn't much to do there for the summer except get beaten up by my sister or read books. And so I used to read authors like James Michener and James Clavell and Ayn Rand. And their stories made the world seem a very small and interconnected place. And it struck me that if I could write stories that were about this world as being small and interconnected, that maybe I could get people interested in the issues that affected us all and maybe engage them to make a difference. I didn't think that was necessarily the best way to make a living, so I decided to go on a path to become financially independent so I could write these stories as quickly as I could. I then had a bit of a wake-up call when I was 14, and my dad came home one day and announced that he had cancer, and it looked pretty bad. And what he said was he wasn't so much afraid that he might die, but that he hadn't done the things that he wanted to with his life. And knock on wood, he's still alive today, many years later, but for a young man, that made a real impression on me that one never knows how much time one really has. So I set out in a hurry. I studied engineering, started a couple of businesses that I thought would be the ticket to financial freedom. One of those businesses was a computer rental business called Micros on the Move, which is very well named because people kept stealing the computers. So I figured I needed to learn a little bit more about business, so I went to Stanford Business School and studied there. And while I was there, I made friends with a fellow named Pierre Omidyar, who's here today. And Pierre, I apologize for this. This is a photo from the old days. And just after I'd graduated, Pierre came to me with this idea to help people buy and sell things online with each other. And with the wisdom of my Stanford degree, I said, Pierre, what a stupid idea. And needless to say, I was right. But right after that, Pierre, in '96, Pierre and I left our full-time jobs to build eBay as a company. And the rest of that story, you know, the company went public 2 years later and is today one of the best-known companies in the world. Hundreds of millions of people use it in hundreds of countries and so on. But for me personally, it was a real change. I went from living in a house with 5 guys in Palo Alto and living off their leftovers to all of a sudden having all kinds of resources. And I wanted to figure out how I could take the blessing of these resources and share it with the world. And around that time, I met John Gardner, who was a remarkable man. He was the architect of the Great Society programs under Lyndon Johnson in the 1960s. And I asked him what he felt was the best thing I could do, or anyone could do, to make a difference in the long-term issues facing humanity. And John said, bet on good people doing good things. Bet on good people doing good things. And that really resonated with me. I started a foundation to bet on these good people doing good things, these leading, innovative, non-profit folks who are using business skills in a very leveraged way to solve social problems. People today we call social entrepreneurs. And to put a face on it, people like Muhammad Yunus, who started the Grameen Bank, has lifted 100 million people plus out of poverty around the world, won the Nobel Peace Prize. But there's also a lot of people that you don't know. Folks like Ann Cotton, who started a group called CamFed in Africa because she felt girls' education was lagging. And she started it about 10 years ago, and today she educates over 250,000 African girls. And somebody like Dr. Victoria Hale, who started the world's first nonprofit pharmaceutical company, and whose first drug will be fighting visceral leishmaniasis, also known as black fever. And by 2010, she hopes to eliminate this disease, which is really a scourge in the developing world. And so this is one way to bet on good people doing good things. And a lot of this comes together in a philosophy of change that I find really is powerful. It's what we call invest, connect, and celebrate. And invest. If you see good people doing good things, invest in them. Invest in their organizations or in business. Invest in these folks. Connecting them together through conferences like a TED brings so many powerful connections, or through the World Forum on Social Entrepreneurship that my foundation does at Oxford every year. And celebrate them. Tell the stories, because not only are there good people doing good work, but their stories can help close these gaps of hope. And it was this last part of the mission, the celebrate part, that really got me back to thinking when I was a kid and wanted to tell stories to get people involved in the issues that affect us all. And a light bulb went off, which was first that I didn't actually have to do the writing myself. I could find writers. And then the next light bulb was, better than just writing, what about film and TV to get out to people in a big way? And I thought about the films that inspired me, films like Gandhi and Schindler's List, and I wondered who was doing these kind of films today. And there really wasn't a specific company that was focused on the public interest. So in 2003, I started to make my way around Los Angeles to talk about the idea of a pro-social media company. And I was met with a lot of encouragement. One of the lines of encouragement that I heard over and over was, the streets of Hollywood are littered with the carcasses of people like you who think you're going to come to this town and make movies. And then, of course, there was the other adage, the surest way to become a millionaire is to start by being a billionaire and go into the movie business. Undeterred, in January of 2004, I started Participant Productions with the vision to be a global media company focused on the public interest. And our mission is to produce entertainment that creates and inspires social change. And we don't just want people to see our movies and say that was fun and forget about it. We want them to actually get involved in the issues. In 2005, we launched our first slate of films, Murder Ball, North Country, Syriana, and Good Night and Good Luck. And much to my surprise, they were noticed. We ended up with 11 Oscar nominations for these films, and it turned out to be a pretty good year for this guy. Perhaps more importantly, tens of thousands of people joined the advocacy programs and the activism programs that we created to go around the movies. And we had an online component of that, our community site called participate.net, but with our social sector partners like the ACLU and PBS and the Sierra Club and the NRDC, once people saw the film, there was actually something they could do to make a difference. One of these films in particular, called North Country, was actually kind of a box office disaster. But it was a film that starred Charlize Theron, and it was about women's rights, women's empowerment, domestic violence, and so on. And we released the film at the same time that the Congress was debating the renewal of the Violence Against Women Act. And with screenings on the Hill and discussions, and with our social sector partners like the National Organization of Women, the film was widely credited with influencing the successful renewal of the act. And that to me spoke volumes, because the film started about a true life story about a woman who was harassed, sued her employer, led to a landmark case that led to the Equal Opportunity Act and the Violence Against Women Act and others. And then the movie about this person doing these things then led to this great renewal. And so again, it goes back to betting on good people doing good things. Speaking of which, our fellow TEDster, Al, I first saw Al do his slideshow presentation on global warming in May of 2005. At that point, I thought I knew something about global warming. I thought it was a 30 to 50-year problem. And after we saw his slideshow, it became clear that it was much more urgent. And so right afterwards, I met backstage with Al and with Lawrence Bender, who was there, and Laurie David, and Davis Guggenheim, who was running documentaries for Participant at the time. And with Al's blessing, we decided on the spot to turn it into a film, because we felt that we could get the message out there far more quickly than having Al go around the world speaking to audiences of 100 or 200 at a time. And there's another adage in Hollywood that nobody knows nothing about anything. And I really thought that this was going to be a straight to PBS charitable initiative. And so it was a great shock to all of us when the film really captured the public interest. And today is mandatory viewing in schools in England and Scotland and most of Scandinavia. We've sent 50,000 DVDs to high school teachers in the US, and it's really changed the debate